Hi everybody, welcome back to this week's Mindset Moment. For today's episode, we are diving into the number one strategy from our success series, which is all about clarity and getting clear on what you want to achieve.
And that will actually provide vision and direction for yourself in your life. So when you think about it and you have an idea of where you're going and everything that you want to achieve in different areas of your life, imagine knowing what that is in the next 3 years. So you've set yourself a goal and now you have clarity and you can create vision and direction. So every decision you will make will actually help you on the path of achieving your goals.
And that's exactly what this video is about, is how can you create those goals for yourself and how can you start to figure out what that direction looks like. And that brings us to a really interesting stat we found online, and that is that only 3% of people actually physically write out their goals.
And then only 1% actually reviews those goals and rewrites them even on a daily basis. So, I know I heard that comment for years, and I challenge you, think about how many people you know that actually have written goals. I didn't for years. I just in my mind had an idea of what I wanted to achieve, but I didn't articulate it in writing and then read it on a daily basis.
And it's hard to get into that practice too. Like, I definitely have clarity with where I want to go now, and I am quite focused on that direction, but that act of actually writing it out and reviewing it does take some practice for sure.
And it's the repetition of doing it, right? And that's what happens over time. As you do this over time, the goal might change. You're going to notice that. But I've noticed myself, it's gotten clearer and clearer. So it gets to a point where you're writing it, you're getting emotionally attached to it. And now I can close my eyes and actually visualize it and say it and repeat it over and over and over again. And it's that repetition that now starts to create awareness around things around you, and you start to see people show up, opportunities show up that are going to get you in alignment to achieving your goals.
And that's a good point about the visualization piece, because I think something that we're basically taught early on is that to set a goal, it has to be a SMART goal.
Yes.
So it has to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and basically on a timeline. And that does apply, but that applies more for your small goals that you're setting almost on a monthly basis, I would say. That's when you want to get really specific on what it looks like and what that timeline is and all of that stuff. But the focus to actually achieve greater success is to actually take that step back, right? It's focusing on that longer term vision aside from just that SMART goal focus.
And I think that SMART goal philosophy and that focus can be used almost in the planning stages as you're moving forward to achieving your goals. We encourage you to set goals that, number one, is you have no idea how to achieve. So you're going to set big, crazy goals that are going to both scare you and excite you at the same time. And when you do that, believe it or not, you start to figure out how to do it one step at a time. And I think that's where the SMART goal process actually can be applied really well.
Yeah. I just find that if you focus too much, I guess, at the beginning when you're in that brainstorm session on the SMART goal, that it almost holds you back from setting bigger long-term vision goals for yourself.
I think it almost limits you, right?
Right, exactly.
Right? So it's almost where you start and then you start moving in a direction, you start goal achieving, as we say, because we start to check off things off of our list. But after you've checked off the, say, 5, 6, 10 things you want to do in a month, you realize at the end of the month, you're really not moving forward and you're not excited about that achievement of the big vision that you have for yourself.
Exactly. And I found that. I found it was almost harder for me to set 3-year goals because I was focused on a SMART goal, so I knew what I could get done in 1 year, what was physically possible to get done. But thinking 3 years out was almost intimidating. Like, there was nothing coming to mind. It was really hard to visualize and brainstorm.
And I think I might be a little bit different, right? I'll have these ideas of things that I want to do or achieve, and I don't worry as much about the how or the implementation of the SMART goals process, if you will. And I think I've just connected to the fact where I know everything I need will be attracted to me, so I'm not as attached to it. I know it's important to make sure we're doing things on a regular basis, and I program that into my calendar, so I have a schedule and my goal achieving activities are there, but I like to focus on the big picture.
And I guess, what are some ways because I know when you initially started coaching me on this, you would always say, what do you want? Yeah. And that can be a very daunting question if you don't know what you want. It's hard to answer. Even more frustrating when you're answering to someone you know, I think. It was really hard. It didn't necessarily help me get clarity because it was very direct.
Yeah, and I think it actually caused some resistance, especially,
Yes.
father-daughter relationship,
Yes.
right? So it was causing this friction, if you will. And I think sometimes because we may not have clarity on exactly what we want, it frustrates us.
Yeah.
And when you get asked that question, what do you want? It's almost like because we don't have a picture in our mind, we can't even answer that. So sometimes I like to, if I'll ask somebody, what are you passionate about in life? Right? So what is your passion? Because quite often your vision will be attached to your passion. Questions I like to ask is, I'll ask somebody, how much is a lot of money? So they'll give me a number, whatever it is, and then I'll double it. So if somebody said $10 million, I'd say, great. So imagine you had $20 million in the bank. So money is not a concern for you. You can do and travel, you can do all those things that you wanted to do. What is your passion? What would you do for fun? Because if we can get connected to that, quite often we're going to find that becomes an extension of that big driving life goal, that passion, that want that is there. Because a lot of times I know for myself, money was a big deal and everything I did was for money. But when you peel the money piece out, now you can start to think bigger, and we pull ourselves away from any financial constraints that we might have.
And just to add on to that too, like I know even thinking of passion can sometimes be a lot at the beginning. I think it depends on different stages of your life too. It's a lot easier for you because you've had that experience, you know what you like and what you don't, or what you're passionate about. So coming from a place where I really wasn't clear on that yet, and I was still trying to figure it out, even thinking about like what brings me joy, what activities do I actually just enjoy doing? That kind of helped break it down a little bit more, because passion, for some reason, I was attaching to this big thing that I needed to hold on to forever. Whereas sometimes it just helps to find one thing that brings you joy, and then you kind of follow in that direction.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I remember when I was selling real estate, for example, I just loved helping people. So I wasn't attached to real estate, architecture, or any of that. I just loved the process of helping people get what they wanted. So then I was able to connect the dots in my mind and then set goals on just helping more people every year. And therefore, as a result, you become more and more successful.
Which is interesting, because that kind of brings us into the second piece. So you figure out, let's say money's not a problem. You know what brings you joy or what your passion is. The next piece is, what is that impact that you want to create? So how can you be helping people, doing that thing that brings you joy, or serving people while doing that thing that brings you joy? And for us, that kind of aligned, interesting enough, with what you were doing with real estate. We're still doing that with the Be to Have movement. Like, our core value above everything else is always to help people. So whether that, whatever program that's in, or if it's through a social post, that's always, always, always something that comes up for us.
And to help people really become the best version of themselves. And we're modeling it, aren't we? Like everything we're doing, every day we're focusing on getting better, doing what we're doing at a higher level, if you will. We just want to help and serve more and more people to really live their best life and to help them get connected. Because I think with recent events in the world, time is of the essence, and it's never been so evident. So we don't have time to really play around or screw around. I think it's really take life and just go for it. Decide what it is you want. And I think that's our big deep down passion, is we really love to see that in other people. And when we see people succeed, we get so much joy from that, which then just helps us get better at what we do, and we just want to continue down that path.
Yeah, and I hope that was a good example anyways, just to see how, for example, us going in the direction of helping people, how that's helped us to set our goals, as a business, and then personally, like the lifestyle and the routines that we have for ourselves. So that's just, I hope some of these questions dove into how you can find that clarity for yourself so that you can set these goals that you want to be achieving.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think that's great. And just keep thinking. If you don't have clarity yet, it's okay, but just keep asking yourself that question over and over. If time or money wasn't an option, what would I do? Where's my joy? Where do I get my passion? And the more you think about that, it's going to come to you.
And that's a good point. Like, I think it took me 2 years to get clear on it.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to sit down for 1 hour and figure it out. It's almost good to have like a notebook ready to go all the time, where you're just adding to it anytime something comes to you. Thanks for tuning in this week, guys, and make sure you are with us next week. We're going to be diving into the second strategy from the Success series, and that's a lot about your strengths and weaknesses and how you can really dive into those to improve your life overall.